What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Scream 7, the first Scream live stream of the year, and the first, I think, of many. We got filming that started just this past week, and I just kind of want to talk about my initial thoughts, see what the chat's got to say and kind of go from there. But it feels like we've entered a new age. It feels honestly pretty darn good. I wasn't concerned. I mean, I was concerned about a few things, we've talked in the past, but I was interested to see kind of my hype level just because this time just feels so different, right? Like with it more being I want to say like an older generation, right? And I don't know like how social media like what kind of social media Scream is going to be like doing along the way. You think about Scream 6's filming, and they just had a lot of stuff, and you had a lot of people that did a lot of stuff on social media, right? So you like saw a lot of Melissa and Jenna and all them, and then playing let's say like Werewolf Within type kind of detective games and whatnot. And I don't think you're gonna really see that this time around. So it does have a different feel. But at the same time, as we got closer and closer, it's like, what, I think this is going to be rather exciting. Even though now we're 4 days in or whatever, and we really only have that tavern, right? And I thought there actually would be more stuff, but here we are, and there's not more stuff. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited to see where the next several weeks go. I think the rumor is that Nev Campbell isn't even there yet, so pretty exciting. And Hauntaholic, hello, nice name, nice name. But yeah, no, it's exciting that it's finally happening. I just wonder, like I said, how much behind the scenes stuff we're actually going to see of the movie. Like if it's going to be to the level of Scream 6 or if they pull back. I think like Kevin Williamson's post is a little bit of maybe it could be a little bit of an indicator where it's like, he talked about that he's not even supposed to tweet about or post anything, about it. So I wonder if the idea is they just go completely like radio silent. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go, but it feels good. It feels also kind of weird that like we're in the year of Scream 7, almost kind of, and yet the filming will be over before we know it, and then we'll have to wait like 11 more months, before the movie comes, which is somewhat more common with other movies. It happened with Scream 5, right? Like there was a huge delay and carryover between when they finished and then when the trailers came out and whatnot. So I personally do not. When Mason Gooding was first announced to be coming back, my initial thought is that he wouldn't be. My initial thought actually is he wouldn't be killed. Period. I didn't even think of that, but I did not think he'd be killed in the opening. Then I went on Twitter and I saw quite a few people, talking about theorizing that he would be like an opening kill. Now, as I've said, I actually do like the idea of Chad. I like the idea of Chad getting a phone call. I guess that's kind of what I would say. A death scene would be interesting, but I also feel like he's this weird, even though I like the Core 4 quite a bit, he's this weird relic of like that era, which is just, it feels so like not what they're doing now. I feel like I was like thinking about it going to sleep one night where I was like, it's just so weird, and maybe in a good way. It's just so weird that like Chad is back, like what will his role actually be? But I think him getting a Ghostface phone call would be awesome. Just, I think I said in a video a couple weeks ago, I just like the idea that you can play on, the meta-ness of it, right? Where it's like he's got plot armor, like he's been stabbed like 50 times and not, you can, and I think that's important. I think it's important that if you're gonna, in my opinion, make those mistakes, right? I don't think they should have happened. I think he should have died in 6. But if you're gonna keep him around, the least you can do is with Ghostface acknowledge it in that meta way. I feel like that would be the best of both worlds. So I don't think it would completely excuse it, in the past movies, but it would definitely, make it better. So that's what I'm kind of rooting for, is at least a phone call. But I don't know. Like the rumor is he's filming for like 8 days or something. So I don't know if that's enough time to I don't know if it's enough time to like make a major impact, right? It's definitely enough time to die, but I don't know if it's enough time to make a major impact. I don't know how it's going to work, but that's a good question. Like, what will his role be? Here's the thing, like his role, if part of his role is just like excusing the absence of everybody else, then like does he need to be there for like a week plus, right, filming? So I feel like his role has to be more, right? Maybe he takes a job close to Sydney or close to Gale, and he's close to them. The issue is, did Chad have any connection whatsoever to either of them in 5? I think the answer is no. And then in 6, I'm trying to think, like, did him and Gale, like, they were in the same room together a couple times, right? But they have nothing, not necessarily like nothing alike, but they were never with each other. So I don't know, but I feel like that's the only way is he's got to be kind of close to them. And like, I don't know. I like him. I like him quite a bit. And I saw that Hard Eyes trailer. That movie looks freaking awesome. Like, I like him as an actor. I like Chad as a character. It's just that, I don't know, he was dating Tara. So that's kind of weird that, he's back, but Tara isn't. And then his sister, you know what I mean? So I don't know. That one's just a really weird situation. Oh, thank you, Walmart. Love the, is that Moon Knight? I like that avatar quite a bit, but I appreciate it. Exactly. Exactly. Isn't it weird? It's weird, but I wouldn't go to the point of, I don't know. I don't know like what the internet, if they've like attacked him or anything. I don't think it's like frustratingly bad. I just think if anything, it kind of just brings up, oh, like why isn't Tara around? Or are you gonna mention, like would you break them up? I hope not. Even though like they're all fictional like relationships and stuff, if you leave it at something, I like it to kind of remain, right? So like if you left them dating, which they did, and then even if you only bring one of them back, even for like maybe the end of time, I like the idea of like that relationship evolving in the background. In fact, they kind of did that with Sydney and Mark, right? Like that relationship literally grew to marriage and having kids and just him kind of being in the background all in one movie, all just in Scream 5, because it wasn't even mentioned in Scream 4, right? In fact, I think, didn't she take off, was it a ring or a necklace or whatever that she wore? So like, or I think that was actually for Derek in 2. So I don't know. I mean, I like the idea that you can actually deepen the relationships, through movies. I like that idea quite a bit. He's yeah. I'd be afraid to go against Chad if I was Ghostface because two things. He's strong and capable, right? That's one thing. And number two, he can't actually be killed. He's actually more powerful than Ghostface. So I would honestly be really afraid to go against Chad. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, like, it's a weird, for me, it's a weird feeling because I really do like him and I like the character and I like the idea of him coming back, even if it's just all weird, but I like it. I want to see him and I'm very interested in like what his role will be. At the same time, I do think that would help, that would help what happened in the past movies. And like I said, it doesn't excuse like him being stabbed brutally in 6. He should have died there. I will say, I guess it doesn't do anything now, right? Like like the tough thing is, right? Like that was a buildup of that relationship between him and Tara, right? And then, that would have happened. And I think that would have made, like a lasting impact on Tara. Now, the tough thing is they kind of were pushed into a corner no matter what, because the impact of him dying, like I said, would have followed Tara kind of for life, right? But wasn't the original idea that if Jenna couldn't film a lot for 7, she was just going to die? They were going to kill her off. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like his death needs to have a lasting impact, I think, on somebody, right? Like you think about Sydney and all like the death that she's seen and stuff and how that kind of carries with her, right? It needs to like make or Dewey dying and say on Gale and on Sydney. So you got to think about how like it makes an impact. Chad dying would make an impact on Tara, but then if Tara died immediately in Scream 7, well, that actually would. I don't know if that would have made me feel good, for the ending of 6, like retroactively. So I think that it wouldn't have enhanced it. And then now, if you kill Chad, does it do anything? Like it maybe does something to us because it says, okay, well, look, this character is not invincible. How many characters have made it through 3 movies? The answer is actually very, very few, right? Like you got, well, Kirby's only on 2, right? But then you have the core cast. Really, nobody else has made it for the most part that far. So, there is something to be said about like maybe eliminating him before it feels too safe. But then what's his death do? Does it just indicate that Ghostface is back and it's coming for the survivors, but then like Tara and Sam and all them, like it doesn't, I don't know how it actually is going to work. Who do you think are going to have the most screen time? Oh, okay. Well, obviously Sydney. No, I think It'll be interesting to split. Like, that's something that I've spoken up, not against, I've spoken up like about over the past, couple months on the channel, where it's like, if you're going to split it between, the old and the new, you just did it with 5, and it had results. But I think for 7, like, yeah, you got to establish her daughter and kind of this new era, and like, you got to also make it feel like Ghostface is threatening. And I think an easy way to make Ghostface threatening is to go after not just Sydney's daughter, but then, like, well, if you kill her daughter, that's maybe too far too quickly, but killing people that are around her daughter, right? So any of that friend group, them dying, and then if Sydney and her friends, like the friends, start to die, okay, well, then it's like close to home, right? But I think Sydney should get the most screen time. I just believe that. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. We'll see how that works. But I think Sydney should get a lot of it. And then, and if they want to lean into Gale, I mean, Gale has gone through an interesting amount of stuff over the past. 5, she was so connected to Dewey, and 6 was kind of just like a weird. I love her phone call, with Ghostface, but 6 was just like a weird situation. The entire thing of like how she was kind of handled. Chad is going to do what Gale did about Sydney and Scream. Yeah, yeah. I imagine, but like I said, I just don't like, if you're gonna do that, right? That's just a throwaway line. In fact, Sydney could technically just get a phone call and say, "Hey, I just got off the phone with Sam," and like they're all 4 of them, the core 4, they're all safe. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying he won't do it; he will, but it's like he can't just do that, right? Like, he's got to do other stuff than that. Hold on, I'm messaging my wife really fast. There we go. There we go. Okay. Who do you think will be the opener? I don't know. I haven't put too much thought into it, because also the thing is, like, is the cast fully completed? I know they've, seems like they've announced who they're going to announce, but also you do have like Patrick Dempsey, who's technically not official. If Hayden is coming back, you'd still have to announce that. So of that core group, I don't really know. Like, here, I'll give you this prediction though. I do think you kind of have to. I think the opening is going to die. Like, whoever the opener is will die, unless it's like a duo. I think. I gotta say, you think about 6, and 6 really like took us for a ride. 5, is such the repeat of 1, but the person didn't die. I would be moderately interested and intrigued by the idea of an opener with 2 people from the cast, and 1 dies and 1 lives. Correct me if I'm wrong. Have we had that yet? Like, I'm trying to think of like something that is familiar. It's got to be familiar at least a little bit, right? But you got to do something, I think, a little bit different. So I kind of like that idea. I know, like, a very early idea was that Celeste O'Connor and Mason Gooding, if they were the opener, maybe you kill off one and you have the other live. Like, and that was I don't think they actually are the opener, but that was an early thought about it. And I do actually like that idea quite a bit. I like the idea of, having more than one person. Who do you think will make it to the third act? Well, I should really pull up the cast, because to be honest with you, I know Anna Camp. I think, I mean, really far out predictions without seeing anything, without knowing anything, I think it's pretty possible that Anna Camp could be a Ghostface. I don't know if it would be like a plural, like 2 or more. I kind of like the idea of 1, because, like, recently we haven't really had that. I know people aren't very high on like McKenna Grace making it. I don't know, like, they just haven't. They haven't. I'm trying to look at the full. They haven't announced like a big cast. Yeah. So the entire cast that they have said is Isabel May, McKenna Grace, Nev, Courtney, Anna Camp, Mason Gooding. I don't know how to say Asa German. I don't know how to say his last name. And Celeste O'Connor, and then Sam Reckner. And is that it? I mean, it's such a. Well, that's what, 2, 4, 6. That's 9. Normally, we have a group of like 13 or 14, right? That's like the average was like, or 13 to 15, I think, was kind of the average of Scream 5 and 6. And then you eliminate them as time goes. We have 9. I mean, even with Patrick Dempsey, that's 10. But then you got to think, one of them is her daughter, and then you have Sydney, you have Gale, and then you have Mark. And it's like, you probably don't kill those 4, you know what I mean? Like, of those 4, Mark would be, like, the one that's probably the most unsafe. I know you might say, well, her daughter I've always said, I think that's kind of extreme, unless her daughter is gonna do something kinda wild, to bring Sydney back and then, like, slaughter her kid feels a little far to me. Not saying it won't happen, but I just don't know if that's, like, something that they would do. What if Hard Eyes is in the same universe? Well, then he dumped. Are we imagining like them as actors then? So then Mason Gooding dropped Jenna Ortega for Olivia Holt, which I don't know if that's. I don't know. I almost feel is that a 1-to-1? Is it an upgrade, downgrade? I don't know. I don't think it's very nice at the end of the day. Mark and Gale will have scenes together. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. We haven't seen we never really saw like a huge dynamic between those two almost at all, right? Just maybe a couple times talking at most. The problem with Chad now is that if he gets killed, it actually needs to be a throat slat. Yeah, it needs to be. Well, it needs to be like a Dewey thing. He's because here's the thing, he's like Dewey, but a more exaggerated survival rate. You know, like what Dewey survived in was probably more extreme, like in the late 90s, right? But Chad has like endured these multiple stabbings, kind of like upping the game of like horror movies, right? Like you have to get attacked more. It's got to be more brutal. So he's gotten more brutal attacks than Dewey ever had. And Dewey always survived until then he got like opened up from both sides, right? Which was kind of that mark where it's like, okay, there's no way you're coming back from this. You're right. The issue with Chad is he already is such a high bar. He's been stabbed so many times. In 6, he was literally freaking double teamed and he didn't die. So now this time, yeah, he needs to be like, you know, I don't want to say certain things even for YouTube, but it needs to be like really, really bad, which, you know, I don't know if I'd even really like that. It's tough. It's a tough situation. Said Gale dynamic. How much will we see them together? Will Gale be in New York City? They're hiring. Yes, I saw the, yeah. I like the idea of leaning into her doing like a news anchor thing. That would at least be a little bit, you know, I mean, we saw a little bit of that in 5, but they never really leaned into it too much. And then she regressed, you know, I think a bit in 6. I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic because like they've been kind of fine since 4. Even I mean, even maybe before, like they, you know, they had their ups and downs 1, 2, even a little bit in 3. But when it came to 4 onward, like they've just been good. I like their, you know, their dynamic in 5 was like, you know, they're the old guard and they're coming in and they bonded maybe even a little bit more over Dewey's death. And, you know, Gale stuck up for Sydney when it came to Sam, right? It's basically calling her like she's the final girl and all that jazz. So, I like that. The interesting thing is I don't really know if there's anywhere for it to go, that relationship to go. So I'm intrigued. Like, I'm interested. I don't know what's the right word. Like, I wonder if they're going to create problems between the two or, you know, kind of create a little bit of drama between them because the relationship is kind of like fine. And it's been that way for a long time. Do you need to shake it up? You know what I mean? So it's tough. Are we finally getting a Scream that ends with a ghost face loose? That would really be a game changer. Yeah, that needs to be that. You're right. You're right. I mean, the movie needs to be a little different, no matter what. Luna, I think my dog's doing something. But you know, you're right. Like this movie, like I mentioned, even with the opening, right? Like there needs to be something a little bit different about this movie, and I think you're right. Like having like if this movie ended with a ghost face on the loose, it would be the most open-ended thing since ever. You know what I mean? I mean, I know every time they do the kind of flash, you know, at the end, but like if you actually ended it on a legitimate cliffhanger, that would really be the first time you did it. So that would make it a little bit different. Well, my wife again. I can't multitask either. Hold on. She's picking up our daughter. Okay. Back to the show. I'm bummed that it was rumored that Sophie Thatcher would be in Scream 7. She has such a badass final girl energy. I've seen her in Yellow Jackets and Heretic. Yeah. There, like I said, I mean, it's an interesting cast. Like, I don't know anything about Isabel May or McKenna Grace. Celeste O'Connor, I have I think at least in Madam Web. Wasn't impressed, but I'm not going to hold that. I'm not going to hold that against anybody. And then even the two boys, never seen. Well, actually, isn't one of them in the boys spinoff, so I've never actually seen that either. I know Anna Camp from a couple different things, and then so and like I've said, I kind of like that. I like going in blind because now it's like they like the characters that they are, like that's how I'm gonna remember them for the most part. So I don't really mind it, but then it's like I don't really know about anybody else. So far for the cast, I already know who might be the new Ghostface trio. You think it's gonna be I don't feel like there's enough people in the cast to make it 3 people, but we'll see. The opener is not Celeste because she was there on the first day. The first day was seen 70B. Although I was told in the video I made yesterday, the day before, that it's not true that 70 is like the end of the. Yeah, 70B is a mislead. Yeah. Yeah. I saw a couple people that said they worked in film production that said that like 70 it doesn't mean it's at the end of the thing. Yep. I really think Anna Camp is a killer. I'd be shocked if she wasn't. Because I think she's got range. I think she very much is capable of being like that friend next door, which she literally is, right? She's literally Sydney's friend next door. And then she can flip, like you can see it. You can easily see her flipping the switch and she's Ghostface. So I would not be shocked whatsoever if she's Ghostface. And then to me, it's just, is it just her or is it her? And like even what you're saying here, maybe more of like an old guard and versus like young guard, right? That's kind of what I think would happen there. Detective Kincaid opening. I hope not. I mean, I don't know. You got like, okay, we've said it a lot of times, right? Like you can't be afraid to take out characters, right? You can't make it feel like people are too safe. And you already have Sydney, who is safe, and I think she needs to be safe. So I'm completely down with that. And you probably have Gale as well. So you already have a couple characters that you cannot take out. I mean, even like Sam and Tara, there was a degree of like you could maybe take one of them out. Like maybe Tara was more like not expendable, but like it's possible you could take her out. So I don't know, you know what I mean? Like for movies like this, yeah, I mean you're gonna have a couple survivors, but most of them are not gonna be survivors. But then you just have such a legacy. Like, Patrick Dempsey was in one movie, or Mark was in one movie. He comes back all these freaking 25 years later or whatever it is for this one. And, in the lore behind the scenes, Sydney has been with him a long time and married and have kids. And, well, they've been married. And I mean, if Isabel May is supposed to be like 16, 17, they've been married for almost 20 years. They have 3 kids together, and you're going to kill them off. And it's like, I get it. You need to have risk, or you need to have, like, you can't feel safe. But it's like, man, that's somebody that's really close to her. You know what I mean? I don't know. But then if you don't kill him, then it's like, well, they're playing it too safe. So it's a tough situation. It's what happens when you choose to come back to characters time in, time out, which I'm not opposed to, but you like when you do that, you run into these issues, right? I'm not opposed to more Sidney Prescott stories, but then you risk like, well, certain people around her that really shouldn't be taken out, they might get taken out because you have to have stakes. I guess stakes is the word. Oh, my green screen fell. Actually, it doesn't matter though, because this thing, StreamYard, see, my hand goes away. I kind of like it. I kind of don't. JD, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing good. Welcome in. We're probably getting a trailer October this year. Then it's coming fast in a sense. Yeah, I mean, honestly, January is almost over at this point. So no, I think it's gonna feel it might feel slow, like in between April to September. Like that might be that's not 6 months, right? 5. It's gonna be an interesting couple months. But like for me, for gaming, it actually might move pretty quickly. So that might actually help my Scream side of things. Did you see the exterior? I did. I did see it. Oh my god. I don't know. I don't know if I want like Terrifier levels of bad. No, and I've said this before, like I highly respect Terrifier. I know there's several people in the Scream fandom that really like Terrifier, and I respect it. I can't do that much gore and all that stuff. It's just way too much. So I like Scream just the way it is. It is gory, but it's not over the top. It's not going to make somebody pass out or anything. I don't think we need to. That's just me. I don't think it needs to be raised anymore. So Oh, Sydney, interesting. How many phone calls should she get? I'll say at least 2, probably 2 to 4, and we can go the sweet spot of 3, but I think 2 to 4 phone calls she'll get. Um, like 1 maybe towards the end, 1 towards the beginning, like an introduction, a closure, something like that. Chad was destroyed. Chad was destroyed. Ooh, what would be tough about that is, I guess, having Sydney, right? Like when you bring her back, then to spend most of the movie on the I think it's tough, right? Because like then, I mean, if her daughter is Ghostface, then you're kind of, but we've never. You're right. I mean, we haven't had a movie like. It would be odd to set it up though, right? Because like that person is the killer, so you're following them around. You kind of understand why they're doing it or whatever. But from and they're almost your protagonist, so it would just be. I don't think it works with Scream. I think it's a really cool concept that is cool, like in general. I think, by the way, of like Heavy Rain, when I think of something like that, by the way, if you know, you know. Um, oh yeah, Gale will definitely have more than 5 and 6. There's no way she's gonna have less than. I feel like she wasn't in 6. She was in like 4 scenes. As much as as much as I would like an open-ended third act, they could do that for Scream 4 and decided not to. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And they're not necessarily in a better position now either, right? Like Scream 4 was after so much time, and that would have made like a statement, right? But now even more time has passed, and you had 2 pretty big successes with Scream 5 and 6, but then now, okay, with Scream 7, so much has happened in just like 1 year that it's not a guarantee anymore. So it is tough. It's tough. Um, yeah, I think she is. McKenna will be the opening. I think they've claimed she's one of the friend group to throw us off. Fascinating. I think they just need to reveal. No, I think that's highly likely. I mean, again, well, you look through it. Okay, you look through it. Her daughter is not going to be the opening kill. Okay, if we're assuming the opening is a kill, Isabel May is not the opening kill. Or let's just do character names. Sydney and Gale. Actually, we don't know character names. Sydney and Gale are not opening. You're not going to kill Anna Camp in the opening. You're probably not going to kill Chad. Celeste O'Connor, maybe. I'd put them as a maybe. And then the 2 boys, maybe. So correct me. McKenna Grace was the one that was really like a diehard fan, right? Like she said in like interviews how big of a fan she was. So that would kind of be cool. That would kind of be a almost meta thing. If they want to kill Mark, I think it's an 8. Yeah, I mean, if we're making this a trilogy and we're bringing back these characters time in, time out, then I do think there's probably a time to do something with the core. I mean, the thing is too, like you're in a weird situation with Gale where it's like I don't know if I ever want her to die. I think my answer would be no, I don't want her to ever die. But then it's like, but she is just getting older and older, and she doesn't have a partner now anymore. She's kind of just living for herself, which is okay. It's okay, but it's like you almost have to introduce something to like keep her going and put her in these situations. And like I wonder if just a easier thing to do would be to kill off Gale. Not that I want that. Not that I want that, but if you're gonna do a trilogy and we're gonna like keep doing this, and you keep bringing those 2 back, Nev and Courtney, I just wonder if something would happen there. Yeah, I do too. I do too. I want to see Kirby back again. I really do. I think yeah, that's true. That's true. We're asking for so many people to die, right? Like we really want Mark to die, at least some people. And did we forget about Dewey? No, I don't know. It's a tough situation because Dewey was it was kind of necessary to do something like that. I think it's just how they did it. But then it depends. It depends really on who you talk to, right? Because some people were just so. Some people I do think agreed with that, right? Where it's like, okay, it's not about killing Dewey. It's about how you kill Dewey, right? Like that was one kind of viewpoint of it, which was just kind of me. And then you had another viewpoint where it's like, just don't touch certain characters. Like certain characters can't die. But then there are also people like demanding that you do something like that leading into it. So I don't know. I don't know. Dewey's a good lesson. Do kill the characters, give stakes, make people feel something. Yeah, I mean, I did feel something. I felt something, and it was big. I think it's just you got to craft those scenes so perfectly, right? Like just his death has to be crafted so perfectly, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You think that Mason Gooding and Celeste scene could possibly be the end, as it's rumored to end on a cliffhanger? It could be, but I like, but they're only filming for so long, so it's like, why would they be? It has to be like, why would they be the cliffhanger? And then the theory or the speculation would be maybe they're both Ghostface. I don't think Chad should be a Ghostface, so that one is a little bit confusing. Give Dewey a garbage test scene, saying he did for the stakes, then not. I think yes, that was kind of the issue. I think also, I think like certain things hurt it as time went on, right? Like I think you had the initial conversation about just the Dewey scene, but then when you got to like there was all of that. Actually, basically everything I just said, right? A lot of just analyzing the scene and was it the right move and did they do it right? Did they kill him right and all that jazz. Then when we got to Scream 6, that argument, or an argument was kind of ignited where it's like, all right, well, now we have another thing to talk about, which is you talk about raising the stakes, and then you don't do anything that's even close to being controversial in Scream 6, right? So that didn't help like the image. I think, and I've said this before, simply killing Chad and Mindy would have done so much. I think it would have actually been completely fine. Just because like it's not that they're bad characters, they need to be removed, but they were in situations to die. Mindy, I dissected, that video got pretty good views. I dissected that subway scene, and it's like there's no shot that Mindy should have survived that, right? Like the goal should have been to kill her. There's no reason why she should have lived to tell the tale there. So I think she should have died there. And then Chad didn't have plot armor; he would have died too. So it's tough. Like, oh, okay. Welcome, Night Owl. Thank you. The action we're working on right now, for example, is 186 scenes, and scene 70 is the end of the first act. Well, there you go. There's the confirmation we were looking for. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor is a legendary line. Legendary line. Not killing anybody in 6 is a 6 problem. That's fair. That's fair. See, well, here's what I'll say. I honestly just believe it's two different ways to. I can respect both. I don't know how to say. I don't want to mispronounce your name, buddy. But I agree. I understand both sides of your guys' argument. I think that's actually just two different ways of looking at it, right? Like holding one movie kind of accountable for like the mistakes of the next one versus kind of separating them. I think it's just two different. I think both are pretty valid. Scream 6 should be like Endgame. LOL, bring the yeah. Well, you could. I don't know if you mean Scream 9. It could be Scream 9, right? You do 7, and then you do whatever 8. Eight's like Empire Strikes Back, and then you do like 9, and you bring everybody. It is like the Avengers. It did look bright. I don't know if it was themed. The thing is, like the movie will come out in February, right? Like the end of February. So is it a Christmas movie? It's not. It's not releasing as a Christmas movie. And then I don't know. Like it's being filmed now. I mean, it's after Christmas. A lot of people have lost that Christmas spirit. Honestly, I think it would be weird for Kirby not to appear. People think she won't, but just like Gale, she has a reason to always appear. Yes, that's true. Oh yeah, I mean, as a character lore thing, she can come in whenever, and it actually makes more sense than anything. She's like a Ghostface expert, right? And she just like travels the country. It's like a book tour, but she she travels to solve crimes, and they're always Ghostface, and she's got that connection. I think her as a character, you can bring her in. I do think that was a pretty wise move, and one that will age really. I know like what they try to do with her in 6 could be more kind of controversial, but I think just like her potential and like what her character is that they made for her, I think gives her the ability to weave in and out whenever you want, which is that is a positive, right? That if you ever want to bring her, you don't have to bring her in. I would prefer you do, but if you don't, that's okay. And then she can kind of come back whenever. I think Dewey's death was fitting, a stupid death for a stupid character. I like the, I'm not a huge fan of them like recycling the kill for Call of Duty and stuff, but I do think the kill was actually pretty. Like, I think the kill itself, the two knives, is actually really freaking badass. Like, it's actually really cool. But him being caught off guard and like, I don't even think it's him being the phone ringing is not actually like the worst part. I think the worst part is just like him walking and like setting himself up. Like, you could have just aimed from kind of far away, lined it up, just been more precautious. Is that a word? Just been more cautious in general, and like take more precaution. You know what I mean? Where it's like, these people tend to like spring back to life, especially when you can't see their face with a mask on. You got to be careful. So take a couple steps back. Don't be within thrust length, right? If you're within like the length of a knife, take a few steps back, so they have to kind of charge you and you can kind of defend yourself, which he showed he was able to. He like his combat training kind of kicked in. So kind of agree, love the character, but he's always been rather dumb and only appeared smarter in Scream 4. That's true, he kind of was smarter in Scream 4. He's making good moves in Scream 3. At what point will Sid and Gale reunite? Will we see Gale in New York City before she joins? We haven't seen her reaction to Ghostface coming back. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like we said, there was already kind of the casting that shows she'll probably be doing some sort of anchor gig. So maybe she comes, maybe Sydney calls her, and I think they would kind of just meet. I don't know. I almost feel like it should be anticlimactic if they're just like meeting just to like if they're meeting just because Ghostface is back, right? Where Sydney calls and says like, "Hey, we need to do this," and then they meet up and they give themselves like a brief little hug, right? And they move on. I think that's kind of fitting. I think like this really big, dramatic, very emotional filled kind of reunion only happens when somebody so close to them dies, like a Dewey, right? That's true. I feel Radio Silence knew they wouldn't come back to Drug 7, so they didn't want to keep all. So they want to keep all their characters safe for 6. That's fair. They could have thought, you know, it's tough though. Like, did they know that when they were filming? Like, I think by the time the movie came out, they probably had a good sense where it's like, yeah, things aren't lining up. We want to do other stuff. They're not willing to wait for us. But I will say though, to be devil's advocate, when they were filming it, did they think that? Right? Did they think, oh, because the way they filmed it and the way they ended it was, I think there was definitely one more arc for like Sam to go down. In fact, they talked about that in the interview. So I think they had those ideas when they filmed it, right? And they probably knew when they were doing those interviews that it wasn't going to happen, but they were saying it kind of anyway. Kirby makes more sense to appear in 7 more than 6. She needs an explanation if she doesn't show up. She showed up for Sam and Tara. Why wouldn't she for Sydney? Great point. Great point. That's a really good point. Yep. And now, I mean, she kind of has like an equal bond for Sam that she does for Sydney. But you're right. I mean, she came in. I don't think she came in. The tough thing is she didn't come in for Sam. She came in for Ghostface. But then, they have the bond from like they were both in the same school or whatever the heck they said, right? So, yeah, you're right though. You're right. She should there probably should be an explanation if she's not there. He finished him. Yeah, he put a lot of holes in Amber, and she just shook it off like it was nothing. I guess you have to light her on fire. That's like her. She's like Superman with blunt weapons, but or with yeah, I guess with blunt weapons too. But just with any impact weapon, she's like Superman, and then with fire, that's her kryptonite. And early, I'm asking halfway through the movie would be epic. I mean, we talked about that with 6, right, back in the day. I do like the concept. Like the concept. Doesn't mean it could be executed well, but I like the concept of like the killer being revealed, or like we know who the killer is maybe halfway through, and kind of the idea, earlier that JD was saying, where it's like, from their perspective, just something to mix it up a little bit, where it's like, okay, well, now we know, but the characters don't know. That could be an interesting touch. I wish after Dewey dies, Ghostface / Amber calls Sydney using Dewey's phone and taunts her so we can see her immediate reaction. Yeah, that would have been kind of cruel, but kind of dark. I I mean, Sydney kind of being called in from Gale and all that stuff. I can respect that. I think that's okay. That was an okay thing. But I will say I actually kind of I liked Amber digging in to Gale later on. Like I think that was like dirty, kind of makes you hate her more, right? Where it's like, well, we already by process of elimination, right? We kind of know that it has to be her that was Ghostface in that situation. And then, for her to kind of rub it in that way was pretty rough. Yeah, Radio Silence knew they were moving on to Abigail. I think they probably plan on coming back to 7 later on, but wouldn't move things around. Exactly. I think they had hope and they wanted, these characters, and they wrote them open enough where like they could really all return, right, to kind of maybe tell the end of that story. But if it wasn't going to happen right away, that's okay. They probably wanted to wait, and then they were like, ah, shoot, it's tough. It's you know, I do wonder, and I guess it's not something that we can really know until this movie, like this version of 7 actually comes out. I'd really love to like compare and contrast it to the parallel universe where we got a different Scream 7, because you think about it. I'm not saying I would have preferred a Scream 7 where you do have, Sam, Tara, the core 4, and, Sydney and Gale. Okay. Just to say that. But, I don't know, like to see that kind of come to fruition versus what we're going to get. I just wonder, it's impossible to know because also like, I don't know, the filming of it and just the actors' talents and that kind of stuff. We wouldn't know if it comes through and stuff, but I'd love to like compare and contrast, what the original Scream 7 was going to be versus this one, because clearly it was going to be enormously different. Enormously different. Joining late. What's going on, buddy? How's it going? Hope you had a good holiday. Looking forward to seeing the behind the scenes. Very excited. I appreciate you stopping by. Everything's going good here. A little busy and a little tired, but we're doing good, and we're enjoying the run into Scream 7. Yeah, yeah. I think they had a good relation in 3. A little dynamic, complex, whatever words you want to use to describe it. So we haven't seen it before. I do wonder if like their relationship again like won't be tested like in the and I don't know if it needs to be, right, because it's like these two have been together canonically for 20 plus years or whatever it's been. So they need to make it seem like they're a couple, right? But beyond that, I don't know if you need any like huge situations to happen. That's definitely yeah. That's hilarious. That's actually hilarious. T. Parker Evans. Kirby probably got fired for not realizing Wayne was Richie's dad with a quick Google search. Oh no. Yes, they were like, did you really? And also they were probably like, why were you acting so sketchy? But you know what? They could really, I don't know. There's nothing really they could do. Like, because he never convinced anybody else really that Kirby was the killer. But it's like, I don't know. All of that situation was kind of stupid from the get-go. But you're right. I mean, oh my God. Hi from Manchester United. What's going on? Trading cars and more. Love the name. Hoping to meet David Arquette in March for the second time. Nice. Well, I hope you do meet him, and I hope you have a fantastic time. I've never met him. I met Nev twice, and is that it? Oh, I met Jamie Kennedy. Haven't met Skeet. Haven't met Matthew. Haven't met David. Haven't met Melissa, Hayden. I really, because I've moved around a little bit, and I always keep track of like the local cons, right, just to see who's going. And for the longest time, not this past year actually, like this past summer, we had a year and a half ago, the OGs, Matthew, Skeet, Nev, and Jamie. Those 4 were there, and I think Rose McGowan, but I think she was there. I'm not 1,000% sure, but yeah, I don't know. Like when Melissa started going, I got really excited. I was like, oh shoot, could she like that would be sweet if she came. Hayden, I've said this before with Hayden Panettiere, I think it would be really almost surreal to me because it's not just Kirby, and I feel like she would get a lot of Kirby, which is fine because that's a very popular character of hers. But Until Dawn is like a big one, but also she played Kairi in Kingdom Hearts, I believe 1 and 2, way back when she was like a teenager. So Kingdom Hearts is like, I have a poster, I've got all, I cover Kingdom Hearts, hundreds of videos on this channel. I freaking adore that. So I just feel like meeting Hayden would be, I would probably bring up Kirby to her, but I would also say, like, truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you for playing Kairi. And I wonder if that's something that she would, that she would like appreciate. But yeah, no, so yeah, Until Dawn, I'd probably bring that up too and say, like, you freaking crushed it in Until Dawn. But yeah, I don't know, like, man, I feel like Kirby I'd probably like more than Sam in Until Dawn, even though Until Dawn is a phenomenal game. I think my favorite character of hers would actually have to be Kairi. So, yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's catch back up. Since we all know about Williamson directing a movie is a single bad movie he directed back in the day, are we somewhat concerned purely directing standpoint? I think there's definitely unknown of like, can he handle such a big, because at the same time though, right? Scream is not the biggest thing of all time. It doesn't take, I think, the most finesse. I think his history with Scream should help him. You know what I mean? Where as long as he's working with people that he trusts, that are talented, that can maybe push him and kind of step in, right, if they need to. As long as like that's the situation that they're in, I feel like, because you know what I mean? Like, he wrote he created it, right? So I think he's probably got a vision of how like so many of these scenes play out before Wes Craven even like jumps. You know what I mean? When he's writing the whole thing and he's crafting that opening, right? That opening, he's writing it, so he literally can see it. So he sees the scenes playing out. You know what I mean? He sees the character development. He sees how things are going to be revealed at the end, all this stuff. He sees it. And then it's actually more on like Wes Craven back in the day to kind of say, okay, well, now I need to actually see it myself. And let me make it like into real life. Now there's a difference between seeing it, because I'll tell you this, like, I mean, I can see things, right? But then it's like, as an editor, I'm editing videos, like, I'm not very good, right? So it's like, I can see really pretty, creations and like high budget, high dynamic things, but can I make those things? I can see it in my head. I can even maybe write it down, but can I actually create it? And my answer is actually no. Okay, well, what about him, right? Can he actually do it? So it's a great question. And there should be like, I don't know about concern. I think, well, maybe that's the right word. I was gonna say skepticism. Maybe that's actually a worse word, right? I think there should be a little bit of like, okay, let's hold back just a second, right? Let's make sure the man knows how to hold a camera. Well, he's not even the camera holder, but let's make sure he knows how to direct, right? I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be okay. If all 8 survive, it would have been very crowded and Sydney wouldn't get any screen time. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Cheap looking, aware that Kevin won't try to emulate Craven's style for the first 3. However, that's a good point too. Yep, he might try to emulate what's already happened versus kind of doing his. And you also want them to kind of bring their own thing to the table, right? Like, you kind of want each director is kind of like like when you see a movie from a certain director, you say, oh, that was directed by this person because they have a certain style, right? So that's definitely a fair point. Hello, how do you say your name? S. Gilman16. Welcome in. Sam, I wish Williamson also had a hand in the right. That's true. He's I don't know. I hope that they just respect his opinion so much. You know what I mean? This really is the creator of Scream, right? Like, Wes Craven is the creator of it in your eyes, but like, he is the creator of the Scream franchise, okay? Like, what Kevin Williamson has done has been we owe him so much, I suppose I should say, right? So I really hope that they're like, all right, I know you didn't write it, but if you want to change some things, like, you're going to be given every opportunity to step in with us and we can talk about scenes and redo things and stuff. You know what I mean? I really hope that happens. Kevin returning to direct was my first choice well before announcement. I'm glad he's back. Kevin definitely wrote part of 6. He'll likely get a story credit at most, but he ghost wrote. I hope so. And then we got PlayStation. Did you see the PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2 pseudo kind of thing is actually happening, Byron? So I don't know. All right. Is there any final? I probably have to go within the next like 5-10 minutes. Is there any final? This is a great talk, guys. Is there any final Scream thing you wanna you want to talk about over the last couple of minutes, and we'll get out of here. I want to try, it's filming for the next couple months. I want to try at least once a month. So mid-February, we'll kind of come back. March, maybe right at the end of filming, we'll come back. And then, we could do maybe even just monthly. Once we really get close, once there's trailers, once there's promotional stuff, we'll probably live stream actually more often. But I would say if you're marking your calendar for when Podcast Now is going live, I'd say probably once a month we'll do these Scream live streams, and then maybe twice a month as when we get to like October, That's my plan. I definitely want to do quite a bit of this stuff as we go forward. And then, we'll have the breakdowns of the trailers and all that stuff. Since most of the third act took place in houses or theaters, for being the exception, a hospital, a third act in a restaurant or woods would be cool. Yeah, a place of business. You don't normally get it in. You get it in places of entertainment. You get it in houses, but you don't really get it in a bar, or a tavern, stuff like that. Just no more Stu's house and happy. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way it'll go back there. Well, if there's actually an All-Stars Battle Royale 2, Byron, I will do many videos and streams on. I promise you that. There's no chance the Paramount Radio Science hired Kevin as director only. My guess at the very least 40% of this will be from Kevin. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the percentages and all that stuff, but I definitely agree with the idea where it's like like I just said, you bring him in, you know what he brings to the table, not just now, but about like his legacy and like, what he's done. I cannot imagine you bring in the guy who wrote Scream, made it a thing, right? Multiple of them a thing, but also just like started the franchise, right? You bring him in and you say, okay, we're going to give you a camera and you're going to direct this thing. You've got no say whatsoever as to the story. We wrote it. We are the ones in charge, and you're just simply going to make that come to life. How could you possibly say that to the man who created the thing that you're creating? You know what I mean? There's no way. There's no way. Now, again, percentages, I don't really know. I don't know if it'll matter at the end of the day, but I just cannot imagine that he has no say. Cannot imagine. That would be the most disrespectful things I think I've ever seen in my life, Although we saw a lot of Nancy's house in the Nightmare of Elm Street. Yep. Stu's house. Yeah, Stu's house was in so many. Well, 3 of 6, right? So far. So I think that's over. I think that's kind of has to be over. I think the idea worked for Scream 5. The more I like Scream 5, and the more I watch it, the more I like it. But I will say, it just like his house just feels so much like I can't, like when they walk up on the porch and then Amber comes out and stuff. I can't watch those scenes without just thinking it's built on like a sound, a film set or whatever soundstage. I cannot see it with like in real life. There's just something kind of magical, or actually real is probably the right word. There's something real to seeing it, like the actual house, in 1 and stuff. So even the idea of it in 3 was like, knew it was like the idea was they were recreating it, right? 60 characters, my dear God. I mean, he probably gives his opinion on things, but I feel like if the creator Scream was writing the new movie as large. That's true. That's fair too. That's fair. I just imagine, like he's directing each scene, right? Like every single scene he's directing. If he doesn't like how something is going, like, is he allowed to, kind of change things? And I would hope the answer is yes. It's snowing where they're filming now. Hopefully we get to see snow in the film. I mean, yeah, it comes out. Hey, comes out in late February. Here in Colorado, the last several years, most of our winter storms are in February and March. So it's going to come out still in like danger zone. So if they want to have winter elements, more power to them. I still like the idea of Ghostface in snow. I think that would be really sick. Now, he would probably be spotted rather easily, right? Because it's a black, but the mask is white. So that's kind of cool. So yeah. Yeah, yeah, I like 5, I do, when it came out, I was kinda low on it, over time, like, I saw it initially, couldn't believe it, I was shaking in my seat, couldn't believe it, thought it was really good, then I kinda regressed, and then now I actually I've, not well, I did regress, now I've progressed, again, and, that's just one thing that kinda just sticks out where it is what it is, it was made during you know what, around the world. I won't say its name like Voldemort. So even though I just said that, but no, I mean you had to do what you had to do, but you can feel it when you watch that movie. Stu's house it feels fake. It feels incredibly fake, and it's something I would like back. If you ever had a redo. Yeah, totally, totally. I'm not opposed to Ghostface having like a white robe like in his bathroom, like after he showers and he puts it on. And that's the Ghostface outfit. I think that would be freaking nuts. So I'm a fan of that. Scream 7 will be a wild ride. That's and I'm yeah, that's true. It's gonna be a ride just to get to it, and then and and we've said it before, right? Like we've done this a few times now. We've done it a few times, and the lead up to it is always really special. There's honestly, I truly believe this. There's nothing like it. There's nothing quite like the lead up to a Scream movie, and I learned that in 5. I never felt it before, but I felt it with 5 with the community. And I mean, the internet in the way that it is now has only been there for Scream 5. It wasn't even there for Scream 4 in that same way. So I just really feel we're in a good spot. And it's always this really cool journey to get to the movies. And the movies come out and they kind of just do their thing. Like, I try to go after the people that are hypocrites and two-sided people that say, "Oh, I loved it," and then 2 weeks later they say, "Oh, okay, can I be honest now? I actually didn't like it." I'm not fake. I don't like people that are fake, and but the movies will do what they do. If the movie's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad, and we can kind of just move on. So, or not really. Well, we can analyze it, and then we can talk about Scream 8 if that's the plan. So, okay, guys, I think I'll get going just in case. Normally I can really only do like an hour stream, especially at the time that I do it. But no, I appreciate you guys being here so much. This was great. This was a great return to Scream. My throat hurts, but that means I was talking a lot, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So yeah, let's mark it down. Somewhere in the middle of February, we'll do another stream. We'll talk about where we're at with filming. I'll do updates. If there's something big that happens with filming, you'll just get a video. I'll do videos on it. But sometime in February we'll do another stream, and then in March we'll do. And I'm trying to get Steven. I know he's got some health stuff that he's going through and whatnot, but he's a fantastic guy, craving something scary. So anytime we can get him on, I would really love to do it. So I think that's it. Okay, Joseph, I appreciate it. T Bud Super Ghost, super appreciate it, man. Oh, thank you. No, honestly, I appreciate that a lot. I got to be myself. The Scream fandom, it's fantastic. In terms of YouTube and you guys that have been with me for what 4 or so years now. I mean, it's been a blast, and I wouldn't trade it. The Scream fandom is very messy as a whole. As a whole, it's very divided. It's very sectored, and it's got people that are kind of two-faced and all that stuff. It's not perfect, but I do think the community that we have around this channel, and when I do the theory breakdown videos, I think we got a lot of really good people with us. So yeah, I think that's it. Okay, any other questions? I got a great theory regarding Stu, or about Stu. Well, you better type it in now. Let me know. But I got to get going. But yeah, we'll do this again in mid-February. We'll see if anything happens. I want to see some set things. Anna Camp really posts a lot, on Instagram. I think she would be the one, right? She'd be the one to slip. If we're focused on somebody who could, make things difficult, she probably got emails, right, to say, hey, we know you like to post on Instagram, but you gotta tone it back when it comes to Scream stuff. Okay. All right, guys. Think I gotta go. Wrestling God. If you have the Stu thing, this is about to become a video. Just leave a comment and I'll respond to it there. Okay, just leave it in a comment on the video. Appreciate you guys being here. We'll be back in mid-February for another one, and I'll have videos, all throughout the month of January. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you all on the next one.